Sam, 17, seemed to be the best player on the team. His speed, accuracy, and leadership skills left no room for doubt. But today he was standing in front of the principal's office door. His heart was pounding and his hands were shaking with nerves. His biggest fear right now wasn't his future in football, but the fact that he would have to face the worst prejudices that would leave a scar on his soul. And this time it all started because of a t-shirt. Sam stood in front of the mirror in his room, looking at himself closely. His new football jersey was like a sign of his belonging to something important, something that gave him strength. He was proud to be part of this team, proud of his ability to achieve results that impressed his coaches and classmates. Now he was supposed to be among the leaders, the ones who led others to victory, the ones who set an example for everyone. Victory is in our hands. The slogan on his t-shirt looked like it was made just for him. Sam knew for sure that he felt at home on this team. His dream of becoming a professional soccer player was becoming more and more real. He loved soccer with all his heart, and it wasn't just a game, it was part of his identity, it was who he was. But today everything looked completely different. When Sam entered the classroom, the feeling he had before changed. The silence in the classroom seemed tense as his classmates looked at him. He heard whispers that reminded him that he was not like the others. And suddenly he realized that his jersey was not just part of the team, it was something more. It was the reason why today everything could go wrong. "Hey, Sam." Tom's voice rang out. It was the guy in the front row, a typical sports leader who always thought he was the best of them all. And although he was well known for his comments and jokes about race, there was something different in his tone today. Maybe it was smugness, but Sam knew right away that his t-shirt was the reason for the new humiliation. "What's that t-shirt?" Tom smiled as he walked up to him. "Are you trying to prove something again? What, now we all have to think you're a superhero or something?" Sam tried not to react. His brain was working fast. Don't show your reaction. Don't fall for the provocation. He knew that any response would give Tom an excuse to tease him even more. But he was on the team, he was the leader, and even his t-shirt mattered, even if it seemed trivial to others. It was important to Sam. "Just supporting the team, no big deal," Sam said, trying to give a normal, neutral answer. He sat down in his seat, but he could feel his heart starting to beat faster. Tom didn't back down. He moved even closer and looked at the t-shirt again, prolonging the tense pause. "Maybe you want all your classmates to support you on this team now?" Tom laughed, although he was so defiant that it didn't seem like a joke anymore. Sam realized that this laughter was no longer harmless. It was an attempt to put him in his place, to humiliate him. Something inside Sam snapped. He knew he couldn't react the way he wanted to, but every word Tom said felt like a hammer blow to his shoulders. Then he saw the class start to watch silently, and that was the worst part. That moment when you feel like you're the object of everyone's ridicule, not just one guy's. "Tom, trying to explain." Sam looked up, but he was interrupted. "What? You just want to look like a big champion." Tom interrupted him. "Only that's not for you, buddy. You're just not cut out to stay in the shadows." Sam felt his heart tighten, but at that moment he didn't feel weak. He knew he had to be restrained, but inside he couldn't take it anymore. His desire to say something more, to tell the truth, became so strong that it almost burst through his lips. But he held back. He wasn't going to give in to Tom's game. The teacher, who noticed the change in the atmosphere, turned back to the class. She saw that Sam was on the verge of breaking down, but as always, she didn't see what was really going on. She calmly told Sam to come see her after class to discuss the situation. The class grew even quieter, and everyone seemed to understand that Sam was being victimized again. This moment made Sam feel that maybe it wasn't just his shirt that was the problem, but the whole system that seemed so unfair to him. He realized that today wasn't just about clothes, it was about who he was and how he was perceived in this world. He didn't know what to do with all these feelings, but he felt that he had the right to be himself, regardless of how others judged him. When Sam entered the principal's office, his heart was beating faster than usual. He was reliving the same fear he felt every time he faced misunderstanding because of his race. He had long since realized that not everyone liked it when a black boy had his own beliefs and confidence. But today was different. It wasn't just about his t-shirt. It was about how he was valued in this world and why, even at school, where he had a right to equality, he still had to fight for his place. The teacher who had so calmly asked him to stay after class and tried to explain the situation Sam was in was now in the principal's office. She sat on a chair as if nothing had happened, looking at Sam, who felt the cold silence filling the room. Her expression was calm, but Sam felt that it was only a facade, because inside she probably didn't know what to do with him. The principal, almost as calm, looked at him silently through his glasses. He was a man who usually dealt with problems on the surface, but Sam felt that this situation required deeper thought. "Sam," the principal began, his voice calm but with a slight hint that he didn't fully understand the situation. "I understand that this may be unpleasant for you, but your t-shirt may not have been appropriate for the classroom. It's just one of those team t-shirts. It shouldn't have been a cause for misunderstanding." Sam felt his anger rising. This wasn't just about a t-shirt. It was about how his personality and self-expression were perceived by others through the lens of race. The principal saw only the external element, completely missing the depth of what was happening. "I understand that you want to support the team," the director continued. "But in reality, it could look like you're trying to draw attention to yourself." "Yes, that's true," Sam replied without hesitation, trying to remain calm. "But it's not because I want attention. I want people to see that I can be something more. I'm not obligated to hide my achievements or what I'm proud of just because I'm black." The quiet shock in the room became even more noticeable when Sam spoke again. He couldn't stay silent any longer, couldn't hide his feelings behind a facade of calm. He saw the principal frown in confusion, his gaze becoming more attentive, as if he was starting to pay more attention to what Sam was trying to say. "You may not understand this, but it's more than just a t-shirt," Sam said, lowering his head, feeling the pain spread through his body again. "I can't just wear what I want or be who I am without someone paying attention to the color of my skin. Everyone looks at me through the lens of race, not my talents or my personality." The teacher sat silently, and the principal remained imperturbable, taking another deep breath. Sam noticed how his words awakened a whole series of thoughts inside him that seemed difficult to express in simple terms. "I understand what you mean," the principal sighed, but Sam could see that he was having a hard time understanding how and why this had become such a big issue. "But you have to understand, we have rules that must be respected, even if we don't always agree with them." Those words were like a cold shower. Sam felt everything inside him collapse. The system had its rules, and even if those rules were unfair, he was still forced to follow them. He couldn't make everyone understand why it was important, why this fight was important to him. At that moment, he felt like he had no choice but to remain silent. "But you can't just always keep quiet," Sam said, looking up at the principal. "I can't stay silent when I'm being humiliated." The teacher now looked at him differently. This wasn't just a rule violation. It was something more, something that was built into the system, and Sam had become part of that system that limited him. "Maybe that's just your point of view, Sam," she said more softly, but her words echoed in the empty office. "But rules are rules, and we have to follow them." Sam was silent again, trying to hold back his emotions. He didn't know if he could stay at a school where he had to fight for his dignity every day. He knew only one thing: the fight was just beginning. The next day, Sam sat on his bed in his room, staring silently out the window. Everything he had gone through yesterday was stuck in his head. He thought about it over and over again. How could someone be so easily humiliated for something that was important to him? How could he explain that you couldn't just ignore these problems when they became part of your everyday life? But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that no one stood up for him. No one rushed to his defense until it became a big conflict. He felt alone and powerless because even at his school, where he had the right to be treated as an equal, he still had to fight for his place. When he returned to school the next day, everything had changed. He had a feeling that something was about to happen. If he could have explained it in words, he would have said that he felt a change in the air. Sure enough, when he entered the classroom, he saw that the atmosphere was tense. People were whispering and exchanging glances. He didn't know what it was, but something was unusual. Suddenly, the classroom door opened and his father, Reginald, walked in. His presence was strong and confident, and he immediately caught the attention of everyone in the room. Sam shuddered when he saw him because he didn't expect his father to come to school. Reginald was a lawyer, a man who fought for the rights of young African Americans, and he was a highly respected figure in the city. His movements were precise and his voice was commanding. He didn't intend to be just a father who came to support his son. He came for justice. Every eye in the classroom was now on him. Sam realized that this wasn't just for him. It was for everyone who felt the same way. "Good afternoon. I'm Reginald Carter, Sam's father," he said, addressing the teacher and then everyone else in the room. "I'm here to talk about the situation with my son. What happened yesterday is a reflection of a larger systemic problem, and I cannot just stand by." The principal and the teacher looked at each other, not knowing what to say. Everyone in the classroom fell silent. It was one of those moments when silence was more important than words. Yesterday, my son was the victim not only of a misunderstanding of the rules, but also of what is a deep-rooted problem in our school: racial prejudice, Reginald continued, his voice calm, but with a power that was striking. You didn't see that. You saw only the t-shirt and decided that was what mattered. You didn't see him, a person with dreams and talents to be valued. You saw only colors, not the heart. Quietly but loudly, his words rang with a truth that was difficult to understand for those who had never faced such injustice. Everyone present was spellbound. Even Sam felt his heart grow lighter. His father was saying what he couldn't say himself. It's not just about a t-shirt. Reginald looked at the principal. It's about how we treat people who are different from us. How we choose to put them in a box instead of recognizing their individuality. The principal listened silently, realizing that he could no longer avoid responsibility. Just a few minutes ago, he hadn't understood the magnitude of the situation. He hadn't understood how one word or one action could change a person's life. But now he was beginning to understand. This should be a lesson for everyone, Reginald said, his eyes burning with determination. And I hope that each of you realizes that racial discrimination is not just a problem for some people. It's a problem for all of us. And even when the principal tried to say something, he couldn't respond. Because what was happening now wasn't just about Sam's future. It was for everyone who had ever felt like an outsider or unwanted because of the color of their skin or their beliefs. Reginald stepped back, giving Sam room to continue his fight. It was the moment when everything changed. It was the moment when Sam realized he wasn't alone. After Sam's father spoke in front of the entire school, something happened that made the whole class rethink their attitudes. After that conversation, there was no going back to the old ways. Sam no longer felt like he was alone in his struggle. Gradually, more people came forward to speak out, support him, and overcome the shadow of prejudice that had existed within the school walls for so long. Meanwhile, his father Reginald didn't stop there. He took the initiative and started a campaign to draw attention to this issue in the city. He organized meetings with other parents and also reached out to activists working on racial justice issues. Reginald knew that real change could not happen if things were left as they were. People needed to be given the opportunity to speak out, start a dialogue, and create a new culture of acceptance. Meanwhile, at school, Sam became more than just a student who had experienced discrimination. He became a voice for those who did not have the opportunity to express their pain. He became a representative of change. His father, along with several other activists, held meetings with the school administration, demanding that they change their policy on racial prejudice. They demanded that teachers undergo special training so that the school administration would learn to recognize when discrimination was occurring and take immediate action to stop it. Over time, the school began to notice changes. Sam felt that he was no longer just fighting for himself, but for his classmates, for those who silently endured hostility, for all those who did not have the opportunity to speak out. The school administration responded to Sam's father's speech, and real change began. A committee was formed to address racial equality issues, and it was now clear that every complaint, every instance of discrimination, was not just a minor problem, but a serious situation that needed to be addressed. One day, a few weeks after his father took the first step, Sam received an invitation to speak at a meeting dedicated to changes in school policy. He hadn't planned it, but it was the right decision. Sam knew it was time for him to say more. He stood in front of an audience that included not only students, but also their parents and administrators, and he spoke without hesitation. We all have the right to be ourselves. We have the right to express ourselves the way we want to. If I want to wear my team's t-shirt, I have the right to do so without worrying that someone might think it's wrong. And each of us deserves equality, regardless of the color of our skin. His words spread throughout the school and noticeably changed the atmosphere. Classmates who had previously looked at him with caution or even contempt now began to express their support. They saw that he wasn't just fighting for himself, he was fighting for everyone. Thanks to Reginald and his son's initiatives, the school began to implement new rules. They started to take into account the cultures of different groups of students, creating opportunities to discuss issues of equality and justice. Sam became involved in new projects where he could organize meetings and workshops for students so they could openly express their thoughts about discrimination, their rights, and the importance of supporting one another. The radical changes that followed the t-shirt incident were the catalyst for broader change. Sam was no longer just a kid trying to get through school. He became an active agent of change. And it was a victory not only for him, but for everyone who had ever felt that their rights didn't matter. His classmates and teachers began to treat him more warmly. They all realized that despite the difficulties he had gone through, Sam had achieved a real victory, not only for himself, but for all those who were trying to find their place in a world that often puts up barriers because of their skin color, social status, or any other difference. His family was now more united. His father, supporting his son, taught him how important it is to fight for your dignity and rights, even when it seems like the world is against you. And the struggle that Sam started became a lesson for everyone. At the end of the school year, when everything was over and the results were evident, the school principal addressed Sam personally. "I want to thank you, Sam, for helping us change the school. You showed us how important it is to listen, how important it is to understand each other. You didn't just raise an important issue, you became part of the solution. You are a true leader." Sam smiled, and although his journey was not yet over, he felt that change had already taken place. It was not just his victory. It was a victory for all those who were no longer afraid to stand up against injustice. Summer came quickly, but the changes that had taken place at school remained with Sam and his classmates. Now he was not only part of the team he loved so much, but he had also become part of a larger, equally important team, a team of people who were not afraid to stand up for justice. He felt that his struggle had not been in vain, and now the results were clear. Sam often thought back to the day his father came to school. Those few minutes while Reginald was speaking made him realize that true strength lies not only in fighting for yourself, but also in inspiring others. He realized that change is only possible when you are willing to speak up and stand up for what you believe in. Now Sam knew that he was not alone and that his voice mattered. A few months later, when Sam was in high school, he was asked to join the school council, which aimed to improve the atmosphere at school and ensure equality for all students, regardless of their background, skin color, or social status. This was a huge step forward for him, and he didn't turn it down. He knew that real change starts with small steps, and his work was just beginning. He eventually became one of the main organizers of school initiatives aimed at reducing racial prejudice, creating a tolerant environment, and supporting students who might suffer from discrimination. Sam helped organize discussions, workshops, and even meetings with prominent people who talked about their struggles and achievements. His goal was simple: to teach his classmates the importance of mutual respect and that true strength lies in unity and understanding. One day, when Sam was speaking at a school event, he shared his experiences with everyone. He spoke with pride because he knew his words were important. And in that moment, he realized that his journey wasn't just about fighting injustice at school. It was a journey toward change in society and a better understanding of one another. "We all have the right to be ourselves," he said, standing in front of a packed auditorium. "These aren't just words. This is our reality. And I urge all of you here today not to just stay silent when you see injustice, but to take action. True strength is not about not being afraid, but about standing up for what is right, even when it is difficult." His words were not just a lecture, they were a reminder to everyone in the room that each of us can be an agent of change. Everyone in this world should have the opportunity to express themselves, be heard, and receive equal opportunities and respect. Sam showed by his example that the fight for justice is not just a matter of personal gain. It is a matter of humanity, mutual support, and solidarity. When he finished his speech, the room fell silent. Then the applause began. People weren't just applauding him. They felt something deeper in his words and determination. It was support and recognition of his struggle, not only as a student, but as a person who had changed something important. Sam knew that his fight wasn't over. The injustice didn't disappear overnight, but he was no longer afraid to be the voice of those who were suffering. He kept working, supporting those who needed help, and speaking out for change when it was necessary. And although there were still many difficult moments ahead, he no longer felt like he was standing alone on his path. He was part of something bigger, a shared struggle for equality, justice, and dignity for everyone. And Sam realized that his real victory was not just that he had changed his environment, but that he had changed himself. And that each of us has the power to change the world around us if we stand together for truth and justice.